Hello, y'all. Welcome to Black
All
Witch
right,
Chronicles.
we are.
I
Hi,
am
welcome
Lakeisha
to Black
Harris.
Witch Chronicles.
Sorry, I'm Lakeisha Harris. Dr. G Love.
Hey, I'm
Introduce
Dr. G
yourself.
Love,
Okay,
so glad to
Ladybugs.
be here. And we have
Sorry.
our special, beautiful guest, Sophia L. Bugs. Sophia, say something so your face comes up and people can see you.
Peace, family. It is a blessing and a pleasure to be here on this amazing full moon with these divine diva witches. I'm feeling it.
Yes. Welcome, Sophia. So, for those of you who do not know who this beautiful planetary being is, we have been featuring her on the Black Witch Facebook for the month of March because she's just so powerful. And her name is Sophia L. Bugs. She is the owner and operator of Ladybug's Farm, a 1.3-acre urban farm located on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio. She has reclaimed the sacred roots of farming through sustainable living. Her specialties include wildcrafting, fermenting traditional foods, and witchcraft. Honey, yes, yes, be a black witch and ferment. Her mission is to restore, revamp, and revitalize her community while creating a loving urban homestead with her daughter, Passion. What's up, Passion? And Sophia has been sharing her urban wellness and farming information through cooking classes, spiritual consultations, and farmers market. Yes, blessed be to the damn witch. Yes. Welcome, Sophia.
Hey now.
Yes. Okay, I got to butt right in. Look, everybody out here in the Black Witch Chronicles place, I made this confession, but I gotta keep it. I'm starstruck. I am so in love with Sophia L. Bugs. We have a guest that I happen to be like really crushed out on. So if I act geeked out the whole time, which I'm going to, just know that that is why. I am so psyched. This is like, you have like a dream come true, Sophia. First of all, the name of your farm is Lady Bugs Farm. Your name is Bugs, Ms. Bugs. It's too good. I saw your Instagram page, which you're gonna have to tell people what your Instagram, page name is, so people can look at it. And I fell in love with you right then and there. Your plants look lush and beautiful. Your images of yourself are so powerful and so strong that every time I see a picture of you, I feel empowered. I feel like I want to jump on my broom and fly around the moon. And then the images of your land are so gorgeous, just how you are showing us the spirit of the plant. So who is this person? How can I ever get to speak with them in person? So it's a huge honor to have you. I appreciate you. I feel your vibration from across the planet. I'm down underneath the equator on the other side of the world, and I can feel your vibration. So Ashe, I'm in a whole namaste hotel. Thank you so much for being with us.
Wow. What an amazing welcome. Very beautiful. Thank you so much. It has definitely been a dream of mine. When I first saw a photo of you, the three of you, I thought, wow, these sisters look fierce. Then the following week, I saw the same photo titled Black Witch Chronicles, and I was like, hold up, what? Clicked on it. There's a page, and y'all was off the chain the first full moon. I was loving it. And I said to myself, man, what I would give to live in a neighborhood with sisters like that. Live in a space where I can reach out and touch sisters like that, So I was definitely feeling love on the page, definitely feeling love in the videos, really following your work. Work is much needed. For a very long time, I think I was very closeted about the idea of being a black witch, and so the fact that you have come forth to share this magic is so important. that, like I was saying to you earlier, that social media has this interesting layer of allowing us to connect, like the mycelium, the grid, that we are all connected in this loving way, even via, the internet. So I am very honored and grateful to be sitting in this time-space reality with you amazing women. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're so incredibly welcome. And Ladybug's Farm is just a beautiful place of existence. And we are meeting and gathering a full worm moon. So ashe to the bugs and the fertile ground upon which we all sit and share in this cosmic space and time. I wanted to get started, Sophia, with you telling us a little bit about how you got started with Ladybug's Farm and reclaiming space. These folks ain't giving us no 40 acres, so we got to snatch it back. So how'd you get your 1.3?
Right. So I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio, and I'll make this as quick as possible. But when I was 11, like many people in Ohio, they moved because there were no jobs. So we went to Central Florida. So I was basically in Central Florida until I was 30-something years old. I can't remember right now. And after being there, graduating from college, and I did graduate from Bethune-Cookman University, or actually college time, I worked at Full Sail University, and I also was a lactation consultant for WIC and nutrition. But I was laid off of both of those amazing, wonderful jobs, and it put me in a position of not wanting to live in Florida unemployed. It's just impossible. So I decided to come back home. But I'll just back up a little bit to say that prior to that happening, I had just lost my grandmother, and I was laid off of both jobs. And so everything happens in threes for me. And I knew there was a message. I knew it was more than just being laid off. I knew it was a blessing. So I returned back to Youngstown, Ohio, after living in Central Florida for so many years. And when I came back, the only thing I can think of was grandma, of course, because me coming back home, I moved into the home that I was raised in, which is her house. And I just kept thinking about her garden, her green tomatoes, her zucchini bread. So I kept thinking, man, I should do a little garden. So I decided to do a little garden. After the snow cleared, I realized there was so much garbage in my backyard from people dumping. And it was because she had been sick, and this is Youngstown, which is an old Rust Belt city that has been run down for more than a couple decades. It was because all the mills were closed, and the list goes on as far as joblessness. So we've got a lot of abandoned houses here, some poverty, very blighted neighborhoods, and that was what the backyard was. And after the snow cleared even more, I discovered she basically gravelled it in. So I thought, I still wanted a garden, what to do, and somehow I come across a site to talk about container gardening. And I thought, I'll just container garden. Well, I kind of was an overachiever, and I started growing in 13 kiddie pools. Yeah, so that was my container gardening, and I was doing a good job. And the list, and more beds, and then finally I wanted some land, which was just across the fence, which is really the next block over. And I thought, maybe I can get some more kiddie pools back there too, And finally I was like, why kiddie pools? Maybe I can just clean it up. So I went downtown and asked what to do. How could I just grow on it without, paying for it? And then when they asked me what was my overall project or what I wanted to do, I just made something up and said I'd be a farmer, but I didn't realize what I was saying. And so that's how it started. I said I wanted to be a farmer, and they told me, well, you should apply to take ownership of these 9 lots. And so those 9 lots is
Wow.
about 1.2, and so a whole half a block behind my home. So
Wow.
that's how it kind of just opened up, and I went from there to getting a couple grants. I've apprenticed. I got in market garden training. I did a whole bunch of stuff to figure out, learn, and then when I discovered to just jump out there on my own, I just did it. And it don't pay a
It's
lot, but when I did,
amazing.
hmm
It's amazing what you said about like um calling it out. Like you said, I'm gonna farm on it. Like um that magic of the word, saying that I'm going to farm on it and putting it out and not really knowing what you were saying. Maybe
hmm
even an ancestor speaking through you.
absolutely.
That's some powerful work, sis. So can we talk about so it sounds like you had death come in threes, like a dying off of where you once were in Florida,
Mhm.
coming in three. And that's I don't know what I hear the old folks say. Death comes in threes, but a lot of people think of death and not thinking of the transference of energy into
Right.
something else.
hmm
Can you talk a little bit about that? How that experience has been for you?
Sure, absolutely. Again, for me, because the three in all sorts of ways have been just it's just my favorite number. My daughter's actually born on the 13th of August, which is my very favorite number. And just, I've always paid attention to that three, and that's how I was able to actually be at a peace when it dawned on me. I just lost my grandmother and I'm laid off both of my jobs. Most people would have been very devastated. But because there was something already deep and spiritual about three for myself, it just like it dawned on me about transformation and the killing away of, going away with old, bringing in the new. Um, it just resonated with me so well. As a matter of fact, those are one of the moments that I mark in my life that I knew I was grown, like that I knew I was an adult, because I
Mm.
validated something that I knew on my own, something that I knew grounded me in a feeling to say, this is not meant to hurt you. This is meant to make you prosper. I knew that I knew that I knew that meant to come back home.
Mm.
And when I saw that dead,
Yeah.
and there was a dead bird actually on the porch before we left. And so birds are my
Wow.
Well, birds are my right after we buried my grandmother and we went back home. I went back to Florida. I knew I was coming back. I knew I was coming back. So birds is another one of my totems. My grandmother loved birds. Her favorite color was blue, and because she named me Sophia, my bird is the dove.
Oh, so beautiful. G got a bird too. What's your special bird, G Love?
I have a few special birds. I carry a condor of medicine. So part of my shamanic practice is that I carry condor medicine as part of the prophecy of the meeting of the eagle and the condor. And right now I'm in South America, which is the home of the condor, where I am so happy to be surrounded by nothing but nature, plants, trees. I'm in a location where the rainforest meets the ocean right now. And here I see my other bird totem, which is a more personal bird totem, which is the hummingbird. And they have the Esmeralda hummingbird here. And I've never
Wow.
seen an Esmeralda hummingbird before. Beautiful. Got a nice long red beak. Beautiful. And this summer, I do. I spent, well, I have been anyway. I don't know what I am anymore. I'm in a great transition. But I have been an urban shamana all these years. And part of how I've been able to maintain myself is I have a sanctuary in Vermont that I go with my godmother who lives there. And we have ruby-throated hummingbirds who migrate to us almost exactly on the same day every year. And this past year, the hummingbirds were not doing well this summer. I go up there and I stay in a tent and I sit with nature and I do my best to keep myself alive, frankly, after a year of urban shamaning, as we all know how that goes. The urban life, really, just as an empath, just the energy the urban life takes, standing still doing absolutely nothing, because energetically it's so incredibly, everything's happening. One apartment building, you can hear 5,000 voices if you want or don't want, or dreams, So I'm up there, and usually that's such a sanctuary. But the first thing that happened this summer when I got there was I woke up in the morning and opened the doorway, and there was one of the hummingbirds lying dead on the porch. So I actually thought of that when you mentioned the bird. And we ended up finding 2 hummingbirds dead, and there was just a small number. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with their migration, how they do with showing up next year. But I took that also as a sign, Sophia, similar to yours, that something was transforming for me. It's no surprise that I find myself living for at least 6 months down here with the condor medicine. That the message I got this summer from the birds was a message to, 1, fly south like they were doing, and 2, to transmute and transform, that there was something in me that fully was ready to die, that it was no longer about maintaining, it was no longer about maintenance and keeping the machine going, that I could, without going to the grave, completely surrender myself inside of this incarnation and see come what may. And so far I'm in come what may mode, and it's quite remarkable experiencing the changes in my body, my psyche, my spirit, and my mind. And I definitely, the hummingbird was the harbinger for that, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. The planet is definitely sending signs, healing signs of rebirth and rejuvenation via our animal guides. Speaking of which, welcome King with his ass in the video. Boy, leave it to my cat. Anyway, let's talk about Earth as a healer. I know that on that Sophia, you and I had talked about this a while ago, how the Earth, farming, doing gardening work as a form of healing, and how that has been transformative for both you and I, a source of grounding through death, family illnesses, our own illnesses, and a source of rebirth. Can you go into a little bit about that?
Oh, absolutely. To take a kind of go back from the original story I was sharing, I didn't tell people how I was actually laid off, and it was because every day I went to work, I cried. And every day I went to work, I was unappreciative of where I was at. Beautiful facility. The university was amazing. But I just didn't feel like I was living on purpose. And I felt so guilty that I was doing something so amazing, making my family proud, making much more money, of course. But I still wasn't that happy. And I was clear that if I continued, I'd probably wish myself off that job. as I share with many of my clients. And that's what happened. You know, basically I wished myself off that job, transitioned into what my purpose was. And so when I got here and lived in the house for so long and started to reclaim the land, I did it because I didn't have any other choice. I could not work for someone else again and not get the gold sticker. I could not sit behind a desk yet again and not be on purpose. And with me having all this education, undergrad, master's, certifications, I thought to myself, I can read, write, and subtract. I really need to do something for self. And so me growing herbs was freeing myself of health food stores where herbs are in boxes and jars, you know, and not really alive and vibrant, you know, and I decided I would start there since I was already using herbs and recommending them to people. When I started growing my own herbs, it heals me more than what I would normally get healed from. And I realized that this was a new type of a relationship that I was building with my food source, because I had already started claiming that my medicine was my food, you know. And so my own wants of reading Mother Earth magazine and Greb magazine and nature country stuff, and me dreaming and hoping and wishing that maybe one day if I had a piece of land that I would do something amazing with it, but I didn't realize that it would come in my grandmother's backyard, and I did not know how much it would heal. Because I'm sure that if I had to come back to Youngstown, get a master's, and still not be able to be on purpose, I was for sure going to be on somebody's couch and on medication. I felt a couple steps close to a breaking point. So the land did heal me. Growing food, just, and as hard as it is, and again, you don't make a whole lot of money. This is the richest and freest I've ever felt in my life.
Yes. You know, and a lot of people really associate like being able to access that medicine by having land. But you talked about container gardening, which is what I do as an urban farmer, you know, is finding space within my apartment, within the space that I have or occupy, to grow simple things. Like, I feel like, and this is just from my small amount of experience in this short time that I've claimed farmer as one of my source of magical powers, I feel like herbs is very easy to grow. For me, it's been one of the simplest things. Like, I put some basil in the ground, and it just blossoms. You know, it's really simple. It's not hard. Even if I go without watering it a few days, I water it, and the basil is just like, I'm here, honey. What do you think about that? Like, using the spaces that you're giving to do that work, to do that magic work?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the soil, you know, will call you in its own way. Some of us will just eat it. Some of us will plant it. Some of us will sprout it. Some of us will grow it. Some of us will juice it. Like, we're all called to the soil different ways. Some of us from seed to table. Some of us just from seed. Like, you know, yeah. And everybody's good at what they're good at. My getting started, of course, definitely houseplants. You know, so it's a lot of people who do really well with indoor plants, which can be medicine as well.
Mm-hmm. Expand upon that, like the medicine of a house plant.
So the medicine of house plant, and they're all interesting. I'm looking around my plants. They're all interesting because some of them help clean the air. Some of them, like aloes, can be great medicine for skin or digestive tract, hair. And like you're mentioning, there are herbs that you can grow indoors that'll continuously come back, and so any type of greenery in the house brings on different frequencies. First of all, it brings in living matter. That's ideal for that, your sacred space to always contain things that are living. I mean, even crystals, even though they look stagnant, they're not. They're vibrating at a certain frequency. Color is another form of movement in life. So things that are living and green, that's even more vibrational, amazing. So you have a better quality of life when you surround yourself with living things. So in your case, with your container gardening, you have the same abilities of having an outdoor effect like I would, because I'm outdoors as often.
Right. And boy, does it shift the air. Like, I got a hold to those seeds this in March, and wow, it just shifted once they started to sprout and grow. I think I'm always over there in their face. I'm sure they're vibrating and talking amongst each other. It was like, can you please tell your friend to leave? We tired of her hot breath on us. One plant is saying to another, like, right. Anyway, go ahead, G.
Yeah, the power of plants. There's one of the beautiful images in terms of urban gardening is for people to have gardens on their roof. And it's the sort of thing where I feel like it's so simple, but especially let's say cities like New York, where there's whole stretches of Brooklyn and whole stretches of Chicago that have brownstones. There are certain cities that have those flat roofs where you could just go up and put a container garden on these roofs. And the idea is if we have a critical mass of container gardens on the roofs of our buildings, we will be cleansing the air of the environment. And just the power of bringing green space back into our homes and back into our urban environments is so critical. Again, I mean, it takes a lot of resources and, a certain kind of lifestyle to be able to leave the urban environment, as I'm able to do, and go to nature to recalibrate. We really need these spaces in our own homes, even if, as Keisha, you're saying, like right there in your kitchen, right? And you don't have to. If you don't have to buy pots, you take a plastic container and you cut the top off, put some dirt in there, and plant some seeds. Like, be as creative as possible. Like, it's recycling. A lot of containers that we throw out can be turned into flower pots. We can sprout in all kind of containers. In our old egg cartons, so you use plastic egg cartons now. It's such a darn shame, but it's real nice if you have the paper ones to sprout in those because they're porous. And there's so much we can do, and I think it can't be underestimated, the importance of this conversation. Really encouraging people to start planting, to plant in your one-bedroom, to plant in your studio apartment, to plant if you have a nice-sized roof. Put a container up there and plant some stuff. Like, really reclaiming our power. And as Black people in particular, we are the great farmers of this nation. But when people think of farmers, they don't think of a black face that goes with when you say, imagine a farmer. It doesn't really come up a black face. And, we have centuries of farming mastery, our ancestry, on this particular soil. And we know that the reason why we have pushed that to the side is because of its relationship with slavery, oppression, and sharecropping. So many of our ancestors, certainly My father was part of one of the great migrations, the migration that happened around World War II to leave Alabama and travel up to live in the North on the GI Bill after being part of the U.S. Army. And the idea is like, oh, we want to be urban. We want to live in, the big cities. We never want to go dig out any dirt ever again. We never want to, be seen or embarrassed or shamed, messing around in the mud, dirty like that anymore. We want to be sharp. My father always wanted to look sharp with his shoes and his hat and his car. And that was part of it, was to say, I'm distancing myself from that dirty lifestyle. And enough time has passed. There's time to get dirty again. We need to get back down in the dirt and down into our roots and call forward those ancestors and start growing our own food and healing our own selves and using our own simple, profound black magic in the soil.
Shame.
Right. It's 10:30 now, and I want to start. We have one question from the audience member, and it says, I have a question, please. How do I know if my plant is dead, and what do I do with it if it is dead? So, Sophia, do you want to start with that?
Sure. It actually depends on what kind of plant. Is this a root crop? Is this a house plant? Is this a vine, bush? It all depends. But I would know for sure that if it is dead, that you should just put it in a compost pile. But if you are a grower for profit, then I probably would not use that dead plant in my compost, because if it's dead for fungal reasons, you don't want to add that to your compost pile, especially if you're using compost to fertilize and revitalize your soil. There are actually good agricultural practices that come with you realizing that, you can't, all compost is not created equal, especially if you're growing food for market, for sale. And so you first need to identify if it was a disease, or if it was just too dry or too much sun. It's a lot that could be dead. But I do know aloe plants are very forgiving. You thought you killed it, and if you just left it alone, literally, anywhere in the house, it tends to come back after a long period of time. Root crops are like that too, like horseradish. You think it's dead and it's not. So it depends on what kind of plant we're talking about and where you need to put that plant if it is dead. If you're just growing for yourself, you could put it in a regular compost pile. But if it's growing for market, then you want to be careful. I hope I was clear.
Yeah, that was very clear. And the person said that it's Tigress. Hey, Tigress Blue. It's a house plant, they said. So, with my house plants, if I feel like if they're gone, I take it and offer it to the ancestors at the crossroads and thank them for, giving me use of the plant medicine in the house, and offer it back to them so that they can, compost it in the spirit world, so to speak. And then, more often than not, they send me something new. Every time I do that, and make it an offering at the crossroads or offer it back to the ancestors' spirit world, they'll send me something new. I often get, I got gifted an aloe vera plant. Speaking of aloe vera plant, King ate it, but I got offered it. My cat is ratchet, y'all. It's my grandbaby kitty, and he gets into everything. Anyway, moving right along. let's talk about aloe vera a little bit more. What uses do you use aloe vera for, Ladybugs?
Ooh, nice plant.
That is a nice plant.
Everything. I put it in smoothies, bath care, body care products. I've actually scraped out the jelly and just took it as medicine, like for 7 days, because I had some going on with my stomach. And so I did oat straw infusion and a scoop outside of the inside of the aloe flesh, because something was going on with my stomach. So I use it for like that skin, and if I burn or cut myself. If I'm on a farm and it's my aloe plant actually sitting on the porch, and I cut myself, if I'm not able to get the water immediately, I slice it, I put it on the cut, and let it sit there. And the jelly itself, it's so amazing. It literally makes a skin, a heel, like a glued heel over that cut, and it will literally keep it clean and closed until you're able to get to your next destination to wash your hands. So
Yeah.
do all kind of stuff with aloe.
Aloe is amazing. It is one of those like super plants that you can use for everything. Somebody else, one of my coworkers today was like, she says she uses the coconut oil for everything, She's like, I slather it on my body, I slather it on the kids. If it's a cut, is a burn, coconut oil is the answer. And I was like, for me, I'll use aloe vera as well for everything, especially for my facials.
Sure.
Dr. G, you got something to add to that piece right there?
Yeah, I find, I'm a little bit conscious of any kind of scarring that can come up on my body, because I can be a little bit accident prone, particularly with fire. This is my relationship with that element. I play with fire a little too much, so I get burned a lot, and I could be covered with scars if I wasn't aware. So for me, I've used a lot of aloe vera on my scars. And you don't just use it like once or twice. You really have to commit, because the scars, burn heals, that skin heals over a long period of time. You have to use that aloe vera, and you can mix it with vitamin E or mix it with coconut oil or some other emollient that's also good for the skin. But it's really good for mitigating any kind of keloids that could be coming up. If you have earrings, your ears are feeling infected, any of the piercings that you have, you could use that pulp from the inside, that meat right there on your piercings. It's really soothing for digestion too. I'm beginning to I'm doing a video series on Ascension Symptoms, because I really want to talk more about Ascension Symptoms. We talk about trauma symptoms, and they really dovetail with Ascension Symptoms. And the Ascension Symptoms are really, in part, a lot of what all of us are feeling, or some of us are feeling, who are elevating. The idea is like we're shifting so suddenly, there's such huge shifts that we're off balance. Like our body, our physiology can't catch up with how huge the shift is with our energy bodies. And I find that aloe vera is one of the plants that's helpful with Ascension Symptoms. It's soothing. A lot of digestive issues come up with that shift. We find that we're constipated, or we have diarrhea, or there's hemorrhoids. Aloe vera is good for all of that. It's good for helping to bring the body back into homeostasis. It's got a gentle, but very firm. It's like a parent, aloe vera. It can be very gentle, but it does, a kid can get all way out, start spinning out, and the parent sees the child spinning out and turn very gently but firmly pulls the child back to center. I find that there's a mothering or a parenting element to that plant to be able to assist in bringing us back to center.
That's real business right there. So another thing that I was thinking about, like with plants in the household. I have a son who has autism, and he's on the autism spectrum, and also has ADHD. And I notice when I'm putting plants in the house, the vibration calms him down. Like, I have a lot of plants in this room in particular, and this is where I do my Reiki treatments. And when I'm doing a Reiki treatment and I bring him in here, versus me having a discussion in his room where there is no plant medicine in there, it's a little bit more soothing and a little bit more clear in this space versus having that discussion in his room. Now, taken from that, mental health, going into like mental health, and creating environments that are more sustainable for clarity and mental health. So plant medicine as mood stabilizer or therapy, or horticultural therapy. We talked about that, G, on another program, you and I.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the act. For one, there's just the business of being a creator, the centering business of putting your hands in the earth. It's not only centering, doing the digging, doing the planting. It's methodical. It's scientific. If you take to it, not everyone takes to it, but if it's in you to take to it, then it can be really healing, because the mind, instead of obsessing or spinning out or falling into that rabbit hole of depression that may be coming from Ascension Symptoms or from trauma or from any of the places it comes from, it organizes the mind. Because you have to think seasonally. You can't really be distracted. You get sucked totally into your garden, and that's definitely great for mental health. The minerals, they're absorbed through the skin, So we're absorbing minerals when we're in the soil like that as well. Obviously, absolutely. We're outside. We're in the sun. We're absorbing the rays of the sun. And the oxygen level, where the oxygen level is higher when you're surrounded by greenery, we're surrounded by plants. So you're getting more oxygen in your blood, which means you're getting more oxygen in all of your systems, and that also can alleviate or help to alleviate some of the symptoms of depression and anxiety and mental health issues. So for sure, there's an element there. And then for me, as we know, I make flower essences. So I have this Enigma 13 flower essence line. And I find that flower essences, which by the way are not hard to make, address the spiritual and mental essence. Like a plant, if you take the tincture or if you take the herb, might address something a little bit more physiologic, but I find that the essence, the flower essence, is often beautiful for mental health and spiritual health and balancing the mental and etheric health stuff. But that's where this flower essence work really works well. Like right now, I take sea mayweed, which is a little wild daisy that grows in the Green Mountains, and grows all over. And sea mayweed, innocuous little white, almost nothing looking type little flower that it is great for healing. It's like, I call it a yoni power essence, and it's great for healing. Yes, it's great for healing uterus, essential uterus issues. So our divine feminine essence. And I'm taking that because the rape culture is so traumatizing, frankly. And not only from my own personal experiences, but from all the secondary trauma that I received, from all the people that I work with and all the communities that I work in, of just endlessly hearing about rape. And rape is constantly coming into our lives in one form or another. And sea mayweed is really helping. It's helping to keep me in a more balanced place, so that every time I hear about the latest person who I love who's been sexually assaulted, or the latest person who someone I love loves who's been sexually assaulted, it doesn't trigger me back. So I find some of these flower essences that I'm taking, like sea mayweed and wild morning glory. I see you have morning glory on your page, Sophia. Wild morning glory helps to keep you stabilized as well. Really keeps you stabilized. Energetically keeps you stabilized with the shifting energies of the planet.
Okay.
These are things that we need to start thinking about using as well with plants, is the essence of the flower. It's something very amazing. Flower power is a real thing. So I do want to, on this plant medicine show, shout out the power of flower power.
Okay.
You have anything to add to that, Ladybug?
Yeah, one time for the flowers, even like the leaves, right? Like the raspberry leaf, strawberry leaf, those leaves too are very magical. And of course, for the most part, if there is a flower, you're probably wanting the fruiting of it. If you have enough plants, you can actually explore both the flower and allow others to finish their maturation and actually become fruit. So, the plant itself, from the time it is dormant until the time it actually emerges, it's just so much medicine in all of that, And I love water infused herbs. I really, really, really feel them in my body when I do water infusions. So just taking nettles or oat straw and putting it in a big jar, pouring some boiling water over it, and steeping it overnight, and just drinking it throughout the day. An ice cold, refreshing glass of herbal essence. I feel more, my knees and my hips feel a little bit more balanced. It's less fogginess in my thinking. So plant power is amazing.
Yes, yes. And not to mention, just if you can just take so many times we are just going throughout our day and not really even soaking in the energy of the earth. If you can really just take off the shoes and put your feet somewhere in some earth, that vibration is stabilizing. That feeling of the grass or even just the dirt underneath your feet, if you're feeling just so destabilized, can really help you out. And let me tell you, this month of March has been a doozy, and I have really had to actively use that stabilizing method of putting my feet in the dirt and letting, even by a tree, or just feeling that medicine, or going and doing some gardening work in my household, just feeling the dirt in my hands is enough to bring me back to the here and now and the present and stabilize me a little bit.
And for those people who don't have backyards or farms or gardens, parks are amazing. Like really finding a space in a park that's just a sacred little spot that you can go to. You put out a blanket or nearby some water or a place that grows mushrooms, whatever. Like you can find a park and find a nice sacred space that you can just connect with the soil on your own.
Thank you.
Speaking of mushrooms,
Sophia.
Yeah. Speaking of mushrooms, can we lift Sister Kai's name up at this moment? Can you talk a little bit about her, Sophia? Because that just slid right on in, and I feel like she's like, don't forget about me.
Kai Wingo. Kai Cultured Mushroom, Buckeye Mushroom Farm. This sister was in Cleveland, still in Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio, doing amazing work using medicinal mushrooms, edible mushrooms to heal her hood, heal her community. And she just recently transitioned. And she left a message for all of those who reached out to her. And I don't know why she touched me so deeply, but she did. She touched me deeply. And to just lift her up by saying, one, thank you for crossing my path and reconnecting me to what we're discussing, the land, in a much more deeper fashion. And that was through the mycelium, which is the living material in the plant that glue us all together. So she was the fruit of this mycelium, you know? And her transition reminded me of my own greatness.
Yes.
She touched many people. And even in her transition, she's still touching people. And she gifted me with the continuation of the mushroom, and I'll still do the work. In the name of Kai, I will do the work. And there are many other people who she touched who agrees with me that she really touched us. She was an international amazing diva. And so her children will continue the legacy. So there still is a Buckeye Mushroom Farm, and I'm still connected with them and some folk in Cleveland. So I really appreciate you also being a space when I said, yo, my sister is transitioning, I need somebody to talk to. So I appreciate Black Witch Chronicles being there for me. I really do. And for that community. And she definitely is missed, but really not forgotten. And she, you know, has connected us all together on, of course, a much deeper level. So thank you for allowing us to give it up to Kai. I appreciate it.
Yes. Ashe, Sister Kai, and we have Sister Cherie Sledge Thomas said, Kai was amazing. Yes. And Kai did a lot of work around mushrooms. In these last few minutes that we have, can you tell us a little bit more about mushroom therapy and how it could help in the healing process for some of our viewing audience?
Sure. So mushrooms have this regenerative power. And each mushroom, like certain foods as medicine, touch us differently. So each mushroom has its level. And there are some wild mushrooms that are very much so beneficial. That's one thing that I would always share with people, is to never just randomly go out and pick mushrooms on your own. That you should have a mycologist with you, an expert with you, to identify the right mushrooms that you could consume and how to consume it. So be very careful with that. However, when you're in the midst of a community that has a much deeper understanding of mushrooms, then that's where you can really utilize mushrooms as medicines. And again, it's just really good for restorative and regenerative. When the body is trying to revamp itself, it helps organs to reinvent themselves, per se. Some of them are great for blood, brain, clarity. And then some of them, as we know, take us on interesting trips into the matrix.
Yes, talk about that. Please talk. Oh, that's where I was hoping you would go.
And so, going into, some of us need to go into the matrix and identify our Smiths, and, a lot of us need to do a lot of work. And there's a lot of study around psilocybin mushroom being able to heal people who have certain addictions and certain illnesses. And so there are bigger communities now who are having these discussions, scientific, academic, and simply social. So be careful at who you are sharing your mushroom information with. But there are a lot of us that are out there waiting to share and help you explore how these amazing plants can help the body to heal and to recover from trauma.
Ashe. Thank you, Sister
Ashe.
Kai, because you know that Queen is on the other side bringing it up. Go ahead, G.
Yeah, I really want to, be very clear about the power of plant spirit medicine in this very traditional indigenous technology or shamanic way. Mushrooms, we could have a whole, series of shows on what mushrooms are, like about the mycelium and about spores and about connection. And really, when you study mushroom, you can go quantum very quickly and find yourself in a quantum physics location. And with that said, the spiritual aspects of what happens when you engage with that kind of plant spirit medicine, and even the off-planet allies, the connection of mushrooms with star family members, star relatives, maybe from Syrian families or Pleiadian families. That mushrooms are star seed guides assisting in the kinds on planet Earth. I say mankind in quotes, but that's what I'm referring to. So I do want to, since that topic is there, place that umbrella. Recognize.
Yeah.
Our star relatives.
Yep. Hashtag.
So we have about 4 more minutes. Can you tell us a little bit about how to contact you, Sophia? How can people get in contact with you? Any upcoming events that you have that you want to promote?
Sure. So you are welcome to go to my Ladybugs Farm page on Facebook, and that's 3 words is one, Lady, and then Bugs, my last name, Buggs, Farm, not farms, farm. And I have lots of cooking classes that I'm doing. I have a really interesting cooking class that's coming up. I can't remember the date, but it is on my Facebook page at a place called The Hidden Path in Struthers. That's where I also do readings at, and I on a circuit of the psychic fairs every year. And so in that space, we're going to do a stews and brews class, and that'll be a cooking class that is dedicated to broths and herbal magic and how we take fatty liquid and we fuse it with herbal delicious essence for medicine and healing. And I'll probably definitely incorporate how we're able to cook around the moon cycles and how we are able to infuse certain vibrations in our foods. So that'll be at the Hidden Path. That's a special class. And then I have just general regular cooking classes where I talk about natural healthy eating. And you can also email me at ladybugsfarm@gmail.com. And I also have a blog spot, Ladybugs Farm. And I pretty much respond to all the messages. And I'm really looking forward to taking my urban farming business to another level. At this point, I'm at the farmers market. I teach cooking classes, farming classes, and I'm also doing consultations. Plus, I do spiritual readings. I do conjure work. And it's at this point now starting to kind of merge together with outdoor magic and growing, which is more like urban homesteading. So this is where I live. This is where I make my magic. This is where I heal. And this is where I'll be healing others. And so, yeah, I'm open. Send me a message. Send me a that a girl. Send me a you can do it, or I'll let you also know what things I have available eventually for sale. But this is my season for getting ready for farmers market. So this is planting season. So yeah, reach out if you have questions about soil fertility or ideas of herbal spiral gardens or who else I can connect you to, because the local foods movement is really doing its thing, and urban growers, Black urban growers, are really on board with moving forward with getting fresh, healthy foods into our neighborhoods. So one time for all the Black urban growers out there doing anything.
That's right. Woo woo. Do it, people. Do it, people. Well,
Well, I thank you so much, Sophia, for being on the show. It has been illuminating. It has been a pleasure. We've grown. Those who are watching this are no doubt growing from your amazing farming hand. We're all like seeds and sprouts in your presence, growing and blossoming under your wise rays of sunlight. So thank you so much for joining us on this full worm moon.
and don't worry, y'all. We're gonna have Sophia back again. She will be back.
Oh yeah.
We love you all. Enjoy the full moon. Keep vibrating. We'll see you next month, next full moon. Bye.
Peace.
Bye bye.